All right, ready to dive into some serious wanderlust? Today it's all about Thailand. Specifically, this new digital nomad visa they're rolling out, the one everyone's calling the DTV.
Destination Thailand Visa has a ring to it, right? And it looks like you've been doing your research. The articles and links you sent over on the DTV are interesting.
Let's just say the idea of working remotely from a beach in Phuket is pretty tempting. But you know what really caught my eye? This DTV, it's not just for your typical digital nomad. Seems like Thailand's aiming a bit wider with this one.
Definitely. Sure, on the surface, it's a cheaper and less restrictive alternative to that long-term residence visa, the LTR. But then it gets really interesting.
You're telling me
Hmm.
this Thai soft power thing for qualifying, not every day a country basically hands you a visa for learning to cook their food.
Yeah. It's a strategy, that's for sure. Almost like some countries give visas to attract certain skills, Thailand's using theirs to boost tourism, wellness, culture, especially post-COVID. Makes sense.
Smart move. Though even with the soft power route, there's still that money requirement, right?
Right. Got to prove you've got at least 500,000 Thai baht in the bank. Works out to about $13,650 USD.
Still a decent chunk of change,
Yeah.
but way easier than the $80,000 the LTR wants. This DTV really opens things up for more people.
Exactly. It's like Thailand saying, hey, come experience our country, even if you're not ready to move here permanently.
Speaking of experiencing, this 5-year validity with multiple entries is amazing. Imagine spending whole seasons in Thailand without uprooting your life every few months.
And those 180 days per entry, those don't have to be consecutive either. Spend a big chunk of the year there, head back home for a bit, return without it affecting anything.
Now that's flexibility. No more visa runs every couple of months. But, and you know there's always a but, doesn't staying over 180 days in a row create tax issues?
It can, yeah. Generally, you're fine tax-wise if you're in Thailand less than 180 days within their tax year. Stay under that. You're not a resident for tax purposes. No Thai income tax.
Okay, so multiple entries, shorter stays, looking good so far. But that 180-day extension they offer, does that mess things up?
Potentially. Using that extension might push you over the 180-day limit, and that could change your tax status.
And nobody wants a surprise tax bill. What's the best way to deal with all this tax stuff?
Thai tax laws, like many others, can be complicated and they're always changing. Honestly, the best thing is talking to a qualified tax pro who gets international taxes. They'll have the most up-to-date info for your situation.
Solid advice. Don't just trust a random comment section. Talk to the experts. Speaking of, there was this one comment that stood out from a guy named Tim. He was asking how this DTV affects pensions, dividends, that sort of thing. Seems like a lot of people are wondering about that.
Makes sense. That's one of the areas where the DTV's implications are still a bit unclear. Even among experts, there are different interpretations going around.
So what should someone like Tim do?
Go straight to the source. Contact the Royal Thai Embassy or their consulate in your home country. Get clarification from them directly. They're the ones with the most current and accurate info.
You're right. It's easy to get caught up in the excitement of this new visa, but it's still early days.
Exactly. And this is actually part of a larger change in how Thailand is handling visas altogether. Revamping the whole system, streamlining visa on arrival, easing restrictions on education visas, retirement visas.
Sounds like it's a good time to be looking at Thailand.
Definitely seems that way. Putting the welcome mat out, and not just for the super rich either. They're diversifying, and that's intriguing to see.
Speaking of intriguing, remember Rory's question about spouses of Thai nationals and the DTV? One source said they might be directly eligible, which would be huge. But other sources, even official ones, didn't mention it at all. What's the deal?
Another case of conflicting info, which unfortunately happens a lot with new rules. This DTV is brand new, so different interpretations are bound to pop up.
So what's Rory supposed to do with all this conflicting information?
Same advice. Straight to the source. The Thai embassy or consulate, they'll have the most up-to-date details for his situation. Don't rely on rumors or outdated info.
Better safe than sorry, especially with visas. You know, even if this DTV isn't perfect for everyone listening, its creation, along with these other visa changes, it says something.
It does. Tells me Thailand's serious about attracting foreigners, and not just for a short visit. They're thinking long-term, offering options, being strategic. Which makes you wonder.
What other changes they might have up their sleeve?
Exactly. What does this mean for other visa categories down the line? Definitely something to keep an eye on.
You've got me thinking. Thailand's putting in all this work to get people there, but what about the reality on the ground? The pictures of beaches online are one thing, but what's it actually like living there?
That's where it gets even more interesting. Some of the stuff you sent goes beyond the visa stuff and into the culture.
Right, one article even had insider tips for navigating life in Thailand. And no, I don't think they meant literally navigating Bangkok traffic, although.
From what I've heard, with the tuk-tuks, the scooters, those red truck taxis, it's quite the experience. But I think they meant cultural things, the subtle stuff that makes a difference.
Even better. Give me the cheat sheet on not being that tourist. What do I need to know?
Respect for Thai Buddhism came up a lot. It's not just temples, it's woven into everyday life there.
Okay, so brush up on my temple etiquette,
Mm.
no pointing my feet at Buddha, that kind of thing.
Exactly. Modest dress, being mindful. But it goes deeper. Even small things. Like, did you know handing someone something with your left hand can be disrespectful there?
Whoa, seriously? No idea.
It's those little gestures that can have a big impact on how people see you. Making an effort to get those customs right shows you respect their culture.
All right, left hand off limits. Got it. What else? Ready to soak it all in.
Learning a few basic Thai phrases is huge. Sawasdi krap for hello, kapkun krap for thank you, even if you sound a bit off, the effort means a lot.
Makes sense. I bet that goes farther than my attempts at Duolingo Thai, that's for sure.
Every little bit helps. Plus, you pick up so much just being there, the sounds, the context, it clicks eventually.
Okay, language, checker. Respect, check. What about the food? Mentally planning my way through all the curries and noodles already.
Who could blame you? Thailand's street food is legendary. But here's a tip. Don't be scared to get adventurous.
Oh, I'm all about trying new things. Bring on the spice, bring on the unfamiliar. What's the most unusual thing you've eaten in Thailand?
That's a tough one. I'd have to say fried grasshoppers. Surprisingly good, actually. A bit crunchy.
Maybe I'll start with pad thai and work my way up to the grasshoppers. But I love that, really going for the experience, even if it's outside my comfort zone.
Exactly. That's what makes travel so great, right?
Yep.
Pushing your boundaries, that's where the magic is.
It's funny, I started researching for this because of the DTV, the idea of working remotely from, well, paradise. But the more we talk about it, it's not just where, but how.
Couldn't agree more. Approaching a new place with curiosity, respect, that openness to new things, that's what makes a trip unforgettable.
Okay, you've convinced me. Thailand's at the top of my list now. But getting practical for a sec, this DTV is great, but what if someone's on a tighter budget? Are there more affordable ways to experience Thailand?
Oh, absolutely. The DTV's new, but Thailand's always had lots of visa options. Many are very budget-friendly.
Okay, hit me with these alternative paths to Thai bliss. What are we talking about?
Well, for shorter trips, the classic tourist visa is your friend. 60 days, and you can often extend it once for another 30. Perfect for dipping your toes in without a big commitment.
60 days is a good amount of time to see temples, work on my tan, and master mango sticky rice. But what about longer term?
If you want to really dig into the culture, learn the language, or even learn a new skill, the education visa or ED visa might be the way to go.
Wait, so it's not just for university?
Not at all. Tons of programs specifically for foreigners, everything from language courses to cooking schools to Thai massage training. And because it's a visa, you've got more stability than tourist visas back to back.
Now we're talking. New skills, immersion in the culture. Sounds awesome. What about volunteering? Seems like there are always organizations doing great work in Thailand.
Absolutely, and volunteers are vital for them. It's a fantastic way to give back, meet like-minded people, and see a different side of Thailand.
Now that's an adventure. So we've got short trips covered, longer stays, even volunteering. What about the retirement dreamers? Thailand has to be high on the list for that, right?
It's right up there. And yes, they have a visa for it, the retirement visa, or the OA.
No way. Sounds mysterious. What are the requirements for that one?
It's a bit more complex, but basically, it lets people who meet certain requirements, like age and finances, stay long-term.
So picture me sipping coconut water on the beach, watching the sunset. How much financial capacity are we talking here? Asking for a friend, obviously.
There are a couple of ways to qualify. You need proof of a certain income, like a pension.
Makes sense for retirees.
Right. Or a significant deposit into a Thai bank account. The exact amounts change depending on your nationality and some other things. So, like always, best to check with the Royal Thai Embassy for the most up-to-date details.
Sounds like a plan. We've got so many options. Tourist visas for short trips, education visas for learning, volunteering for giving back, retirement visas for the golden years. Thailand really has it all.
It really does. That's part of what makes it so captivating. Whether you're there for a few weeks or a few years, you can create your own unique experience.
Okay, you've convinced me. Thailand is calling. But
Hmm.
before I book that one-way ticket, we got to talk logistics.
Yeah.
Because as dreamy as all this sounds, I'm guessing there's practical stuff to figure out before I swap my snow boots for flip-flops.
Yeah, some planning's always involved. But hey, that's part of what we do here, right? Help you navigate all those little details.
Exactly. So first things first, flights. Are we talking budget airlines or those fancy long-haul ones? How do I get to Thailand without emptying my bank account in the process?
Good news is Thailand's well connected. You've got the big international airlines flying into Bangkok, but also a ton of budget carriers, especially within Southeast Asia.
So if I was feeling adventurous, I could even hit up a few other countries while I'm there. Vietnam, Cambodia, Laos. So many options.
That's the beauty of Southeast Asia. It's perfect for multi-country trips. And don't write off those smaller airports in Thailand either.
You mean like skip Bangkok altogether? Bold move.
Sometimes you get incredible deals on those regional airports, and they often have direct flights from certain places. Plus, it puts you closer to those off-the-beaten-path spots, away from the crowds.
Okay, you've convinced me. Direct flights to secluded beaches, here I come. But once I'm actually there, how do I get around? Is renting a car a good idea or just a recipe for traffic disaster?
Unless you're a really confident driver, I'd probably skip the rental car, at least in the cities. Traffic in places like Bangkok can be. Well, let's just say it's an experience.
Yeah, that's what I've heard. So what are the alternatives?
Thailand has amazing public transport. Trains, buses, ferries, it's all super affordable, generally reliable, and you get to experience the country alongside the locals.
There's that immersion thing again. What about those tuk-tuks, the ones you see everywhere online? Do you haggle for those or something? Is there a secret handshake I need to know?
A little friendly haggling is all part of the fun. Just make sure you agree on the price before you hop in, no surprises later.
Got it. Haggle first, ride later. Noted. Okay, what about places to stay? I'm all about those overwater bungalows I see in pictures, but my bank account might have other ideas.
That's the great thing about Thailand. There's something for every budget. You'll find everything from backpacker hostels to luxury resorts and everything in between.
So I could snag a beachfront hut for a steal if I'm okay with a few less stars on the rating?
Totally. And don't discount guest houses either. Often family-run, full of character, and a fantastic way to experience true Thai hospitality.
This is all sounding amazing.
Hmm.
Okay, last logistical thing, and this is a big one for someone who works remotely. Staying connected. Gotta have that reliable Wi-Fi.
I hear you. Thankfully, Thailand's got pretty good internet coverage these days. Most hotels, cafes, even a lot of public places have free Wi-Fi.
Music to my ears. But what about when I'm on the move or if I need a more stable connection?
Easy fix. Get a local SIM card when you land. They're crazy cheap and you can top them up with data as you need.
Perfect. That's reassuring to know. Working from a hammock just got a whole lot more appealing. This has been amazing. I started off curious about a visa, and now I'm practically planning my whole Thailand trip.
That's what we like to hear. It's all about making those connections, seeing the possibilities. But like we always say, these are just starting points.
Right. So much more to explore.
Exactly. Don't be afraid to do your research. Follow your curiosity. It's those unexpected discoveries that make for the best experiences.
Couldn't agree more. To everyone listening, think of this as your sign to dive in, do your research, and start planning that Thailand adventure.
And if you ever get overwhelmed with all the options out there, just remember, we're here to help you navigate the tricky stuff and find those hidden gems.
Couldn't have said it better myself. We'll have links to all the resources we talked about in the show notes so you can start exploring right away. And who knows, maybe your next deep dive will be about something you find on your travels. Until then, happy exploring, everyone.